My name is Malomba Esembe. I happen to be one of the youngest MPs of the current legislative period. I have been the magistrate, currently on secondment to serve this mandate. The constituency is Boya Urban, and the party I represent is the CPDM. When I graduated from ENAM in 2005, Cycle B, I adhered to the youth wing of the CPDM out of conviction that the objectives of the party represent the best interest of the Cameroonian people. And I was an active militant in the YCPDM between 2007 to 2010. By 2010, I was again leaving ENAM, having completed the training course for people magistrates. And becoming a magistrate, it was obvious that the standards required are that of neutrality and, I would say, impartiality in everything you do. Meaning that, among others, you cannot be an active political militant. So from 2010 or thereabout till late last year, when I chose to run for office, I was out of active politics. And that was the challenge for me, coming back from this neutral background to seek the nomination of the party I had actively belonged to before I went into the practice of the legal profession as a magistrate. And so, sometime last year, I made up my mind, for reasons we may discuss in the course of the interview, to run for the office of MP of the Boya Urban constituency under the CPDM ticket. So rapidly I had to change caps, and to cut a long story short, by the grace of God, I won the party's nomination and eventually the election, and that's why you have me here today as the MP of the people of Boya Urban. Of course, it didn't take me long to realize that the best way to be of service to the largest number is to seek to represent the nation. If you look at our local politics, the other offices that we have represent particular constituencies. For instance, a mayor represents a particular local collectivity. A senator represents basically a region. But on the other hand, an MP who is elected through direct universal suffrage represents the entire nation. And my motivation was to be of service to the entire Cameroonian people. And that's why I went in for the office of MP. The observation was striking, that despite the causes which all and sundry have said were well-founded, it rapidly degenerated into acts of criminality, sparked more by what I would term wickedness. There was simply an uprising of hatred. People began to hate one another, and we saw egregious atrocities. People were being killed. And I told myself, the solution to all this is going to pass through channels of love. That we have to re-educate ourselves on loving one another. Because as humans, there are many things that will always divide us. It is permanent. But we must come to the point of accepting that human life is sacred. And if we so do, inspired by love, then we shall always look for non-violent mechanisms of making our demands, of advocating our claims. And so, I ran for office because I believe this is a message. I am well placed to communicate, to coach, to mobilize people around this virtue, love for one another, no matter our differences in terms of language, in terms of culture, in terms of background, we have to love ourselves. Silicon Mountain is a community made up largely of young persons. These are young men and women with very creative minds. They've started up innovations, businesses, which are changing the way people live, not just in Buea, but across the globe. And you can imagine, for you know our realities, that they are doing all of this with very little means at their disposal. As a person who has Buea dear to my heart, I quickly realized that Buea already has a brand name in the world thanks to their exertions. That brand is the Silicon Mountain. And I told myself, it is critical to support them, to give them what they need so that they can get to the fullest of their potentials. I took time to talk with many of them to understand their challenges, and one of them is the legislative framework, which doesn't really give them the space they need as people with a specific domain to prosper. Reason why, for the time I've been in Parliament so far, I've made it a point of duty to clamor for the preparation of a law that will allow for technological associations to form. In fact, I made this point some weeks ago at committee level, the Committee on Constitutional Laws, when the Minister of Territorial Administration came to defend an amendment on the law of freedom of association. I told the Minister that it is important, imperative, because if there's one thing COVID-19 has shown us, it is the fact that life is moving from physical to virtual. Things will have to be done henceforth, if not already, using more of information and communication technologies. And therefore it's important that we give this domain of activity, the actors therein, a law that really factors their own needs and their concerns. And I'll tell you that after I did this in the committee, I also took the time to address a letter to the Minister of Post and Telecommunications, informing her and in fact attaching the reports of the committee in Parliament. You know, in this life, for us to survive, for us to realize our goals, we have to move. Movement is a fundamental human right. We need to leave our homes every day for various occupations, be it school, be it work, and be it whatever. It is so regrettable and unfortunate that most times when we leave our homes to go attend to the things that will bring us good, we find ourselves either dying, getting injury, or losing property, vehicles, and other movables due to road crashes, road accidents. It is why it is central to Parliament to support government action in combating road insecurity. Since 2018, there has been a network in Parliament known as the Network of Cameroonian Legislators for Road Safety. At the start of the current mandate, that was just 3 or 4 months ago, my peers of the network gave me the mandate by electing me executive president of the network. Now, looking at the statistics, we realize that over 70% of the accidents are caused by human error, 20% by the state of vehicles, and 10% the bad state of some of our roads. If you look at these figures, which are official statistics, then you will bear with me that the bulk of the work has to do with sensitizing road users. Being an MP is a rare privilege because it is a mandate given to you by the people. It means people find traits in you which they think can be exploited for the good of the Commonwealth. And so my first answer to your question is to say a big thank you to the electors of my constituency, Boya Urban, who found me at 34 worthy enough to be their servant. Of course, it is not easy, but it is possible. And it is possible insofar as the motivation is to serve. My creed, as was well stated in all my campaign material, is to love and to serve. And with this in mind, with this being my driving force, I find it, I will say, though not easy, I find myself going, because I know there is a job to accomplish. There is the welfare of a people, not just of a constituency, but of the nation which I'm called upon to cater for, to contribute towards the enhancement of. My message to the youths is that we must never give up on ourselves. Like the Bible tells us, your youth should never serve as a disadvantage to your person. But there are things, there are virtues that we must possess as young people who want to succeed and to emerge. I think one of the greatest of these is the virtue of humility. We happen to be in a context where we have seniors, we have older ones who have a wealth of experience, who know so many things. And if we aspire legitimately to take over from them one day, we have to be close to them, to learn from them, so that the continuity is going to be there.